All right. Really wasn't sure that I was going to do a third video, but have a whole bunch of Ricola throat lozenges, so I'm trying to soothe my throat, soothe my voice. I keep clearing out my damn political folder, but then a week will pass and I'll add like 10 more fucking videos and shit, you know? But one of the other people I follow, it deals along the lines of history. History, sword play, authenticity of movie scenes dealing with medieval type things. And it happened, so it's a dude called Shadiversity. And came across this particular article, which caught my attention. I mean, as I said, I've been in the martial arts since I was 5 years old, not just your fucking run-of-the-mill black belt factory martial arts, but real martial arts. Weapons, I collect weapons. I use the weapons. I do sword play. I can use the Tai Chi Chuan sword. I can nunchucks. I'm really, really good with daggers and short blades. I belong to Amp Guard, which is more along the line of fencing. A lot of my friends are SEA, which they've been trying to get me because of my skill in fighting, have been trying to get me to do SEA for years, as well as other night combat. But part of the reason why I don't do it, which I just saw them at the Renaissance Fair in Las Cruces, a lot of my friends who are belong to a lot of the knights. There's friends of mine I have within the Knights of Alona, which do jousting and everything else, which they offered, because they were looking for other knights to do jousting, which I do horseback ride, but I cannot do any of that shit anymore due to my knees, my back. When it comes to full armored combat, I told them I could still technically do, but because of my military disability and everything else, I do not want to take a chance. And one of the guys, one of the knights, one of my friends he goes, Mark, I'm a disabled vet and I can do it. I said, but are your disabilities tied to your physical nature? And he was like, well, no. And I was like, mine are. I said, so if I am out here and I get hit in the knee or something along those lines or whatever, I can lose my disability. And he was like, oh shit, you're right. Because he works for the VA as well as being one of these knights. And he was like, oh shit, you're right. You could lose your disability. So, but there is combat archery still within it. So my girl Quicksilver and Alucard and a few of the others who are knights, some of them, Quicksilver still does. Oh man, the girl is like tiny as fucking hell. But as I said, I believe in equality. I'm hardcore into equality as long as you fucking earn it. Quicksilver, I'm 6'1". Quicksilver is tiny. I mean tiny. And the first time I ever fought her on the field, it was in a tournament. I underestimated her, not because she was a woman, because remember, I grew up in the martial arts. My mom is a fighter. So I've dated girls who I've fought in tournaments, So I didn't underestimate her because she was a woman. I underestimated her because she was a tiny woman. And she whipped my ass. She didn't earn that name Quicksilver for nothing. She was fast as shit. So we're all in our late 40s. She's still out there fighting. They're all still out there fighting. Alucard is even worse than me physically. And he's just doing combat archery. He's not doing the full, even though he still can fight, but he's even in more pain than I am. And I'm in a lot of pain. But he's still doing the combat archery, which everybody was telling me, Mark, you could still do. Thing is, the armor is expensive as shit for full plate armor. But so when I came across this video, can women defeat men in sword fights? Obviously, that is true for somebody like me. Yes, women could fight. My mom definitely could blade fight. She She whip your ass. But you got Quicksilver, you've got oh my god, what the hell? I'm losing my mind here. Takara, Corona. I can name a lot of the females out on the field who can whip a man's ass any day. Not just because that, you know, that they could outpower the man, but because of their quickness and also because of their skill. But when I came across this video, I've had a lot of respect for Shadiversity. I've had a lot of respect for him until this video, because he ended up sounding just like a weak ass fucking soy boy all of a sudden. Let's get into the video.
Changes and differences in both height and weight as well, and all things.
Oh, good Lord, I gotta back it up. I haven't played this one in a while. I figured it would have started over.
Greetings, I'm Shad, and the short answer to the title of this video is, well, yes, of course women can fight with swords. But there is more nuance to this subject.
Yes, women can fight with swords. I grew up with women fighting with swords. So yes, women can fight with swords. But he starts getting, as I said, let's continue with it.
And just that, so let's get into it. Now, I've been wanting to make this video for a good while, okay? It's a very intriguing subject for me, something that I've been studying for a decent amount of time. And I've been given the kind of kick to make this video right now in response to certain comments that have been made online and been getting a bit of traction, specifically by Andrew Clavin on the Daily Wire. And he has a prominent enough platform, he's a very prolific author, that those statements have caught a bit of attention. It's probably kind of obvious that I disagree with some of the statements that Andrew Clavin has made, specifically these ones.
And immediately I was put off by the fact that there's a queen in this who fights like a man. And there's a couple of scenes.
He's talking about The Witcher. He's talking about the Wolf Queen or the Lion Queen or whatever her name is from The Witcher and everything. I grew up wanting my daughter to be Red Sonja. And my daughter is tall. She's thick. She got her genetics from me. She's beautiful. She's tall. And she is muscular, natural muscle. Like her brother, my son, actually both my kids, big, just farm boys. My daughter, absolutely, she is what you would consider voluptuous. And it's all muscle. She can swing a sword. That girl can pick up a fucking claymore and swing that shit. Just tall, beautiful. I raised her to be fucking Red Sonja. So so a woman using a blade, yes. However, to the degree that they had the Lion Queen or whatever she is in The Witcher, the way that they made her to where, I mean, she's equally parrying against men my size. I'll tell you right now, that shit ain't happening. I understand it's a fantasy world, but she's not a witcher. She's a warrior queen, but she's not like she's got super strength behind her kind of thing. She's just a strong woman with fighting skill. But when I saw that battle, the battle where they start losing that fight and everything, and she gets injured and they bring her back to the castle and everything, she's parrying, like literally straight up parrying men my size. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I've got some of the strongest women I know. Even my own daughter, being a trained warrior, cannot parry a fucking overhand blow from me. There's no way. We're not talking about deflecting. We're talking straight up parrying. Bullshit. No woman, my daughter isn't even doing that shit. And she is a warrior. with straight up muscle. There ain't no way she's gonna parry my fucking strike. So this is where I have a problem. If you want to keep things authentic, like Arya Stark, her fighting technique from Davos, that fighting technique where she's literally like she's deflecting, parrying, that I'll give you. But if you think that you're gonna parry somebody who is 2 to 3 times your size and strength, and you're this tiny little, there's no. And the Shadiversity keeps, he's trying to say that happens. No, no.
Where women fight with swords. And I just hate these scenes because no woman can fight with a sword. 0 women can fight with a sword. And what I mean by
now, I do disagree with what this dude's saying. Him saying that no woman can fight with a sword, I do have a serious problem with. Because obviously I know the truth.
That is, in a situation where you are fighting men who are used to fighting with swords, you are going to get killed if you were a woman fighting with a sword 100% of the time, right? Now, you can, a woman with a sword could kill somebody. A woman with a sword could kill somebody who doesn't know how to fight with a sword. But in a war situation where you are swinging this 5 to 10 pound sword again and again and again.
No, a lot of swords are not 5 to, you're maybe talking about like maybe a 2-handed sword, which is maybe 3.5 pounds. A claymore is about maybe like 6 pounds. But he's supposed to be this guy, not Shadiversity, this bald dude. He's supposed to be some kind of a historian. And even he is, I don't agree with what he's saying, but I also don't agree with what Shadiversity says in response.
Against much, much, much stronger men, they are going to kill you.
Now, I hope everyone who's watching this video will be mature enough to understand that getting things wrong doesn't make you ignorant, and having an opinion like that doesn't make you sexist either, okay? He is taking one kind of view and applying it too broadly and letting it over, because obviously he's thinking of the fact that the average man is stronger than the average woman. And yeah, that's a statistical fact, okay? I don't think any reasonable person is denying that reality. And of course, that plays a very significant role in combat. But the distinction that needs to be made, rather important, is that there's a difference between unarmed combat and armed combat. Very important distinction. And another important thing is the role that skill plays to mitigate certain disadvantages that any combatant can have. So let me also say, I am generally reluctant to make such a, public reply video, especially since my platform has grown to the level it is. I do not like the kind of tribal nature that, it's unavoidable. It's absolutely unavoidable, but it is a thing that, exists here on the YouTube platform between different creators, stuff like that. That's one of the reasons why I'm reluctant to it, especially if they're a smaller creator, and it takes a lot of prodding, poking to get me to, respond. But in this instance specifically, I actually reached out to Andrew through email. I sent an email through his website. I sent a message to him through Facebook, to his Facebook page, and I sent an email to the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire did reply to me and let me know that they forwarded on the email, but it looks like Andrew hasn't read it, and I kind of get that, especially with the amount of flack Andrew has been getting from the comment, because he's been getting a lot. And so with all these, supposed replies coming left, right, and center, I think it's very reasonable for him to have expected, well, there's going to be nothing new in this reply. And it was a long one, like 3 pages. So, okay, he's a busy man as well. But he, instead of trying to correct the mistakes he's made, he's actually doubled down on them. He's trying to clarify certain things, but the unfortunate thing is his clarifications do contradict what he originally said, where 100% of the time a woman is never going to beat a man. And his clarification contradicts that, but he doesn't acknowledge his mistake. He was trying to say that it was right all along, and he was just kind of saying it out of context, but this is what he was really saying, which, sorry, it really wasn't. Because your most recent statement,
I'm getting screamed at on Twitter because of what I said about The Witcher and women in sword fights, which what I said was absolutely true. Everybody's yelling and screaming, oh no, women could fight in a medieval battle with a sword. Killed in 2 seconds. Every single woman who did that would be killed in two seconds, except maybe the occasional exception. I mean, I'm willing to admit that all things have exceptions.
You do acknowledge that there are exceptions, but that's not what you originally said. You said 100% of the time, and that's the unfortunate, incorrect thing that you said. I mean, the other incorrect thing is the weight of swords, because that was like drastically wrong. 5 to 10 pounds for the average weight? No. That's like double to 3 times as heavy as the average sword. It's actually 2 to 3 pounds, okay? Like the heaviest average weight of swords is still under the lightest estimate that you gave. I mean, 2 pounds is the average weight, and pounds, I use, metric, I'm not a savage. 1 kilo for a one-handed sword, which equates roughly to 2 pounds. Not exactly, but roughly, okay, 2 pounds. And
let me make a comment here, because as an American, shut the fuck up, because didn't you lose against us? Didn't you lose the Revolutionary War for one against us? United States. 1. 2, World War I, World War II, didn't these savages, the Americans, didn't we come and save your butts twice? So with your whole comment about savages and your metric system and shit, shut the fuck up, because we saved your butts twice.
Is that 2-handed swords? 1.5 kilos, roughly 3 pounds. Okay, so swords are much lighter than people, the average person think of. And this is the important thing again when it comes into combat, because swords are lighter than people expect, which means they're going to be a lot easier to handle for physically weaker people than people assume. They think that because someone's physically weaker, they're
not necessarily true. Considering I'm pretty sure he does actual combat as well, but he's sounding like a bitch right now. He's sounding like he's trying to cater to women instead of actually just talking. And my whole point with my response to this is just talk. Don't be catering to women. Don't be changing shit. Just talk.
I'm not going to be able to swing around a sword that's so damn heavy, and that's the logic that Andrew unfortunately uses. That swing around a 5 to 10 pound sword, no woman will be able to do that. No, swords are much lighter, and women can absolutely swing around swords because they're on average between 2 and 3 pounds, 1 to 1.5 kilos. So. Yeah. Now, I've gotten things drastically wrong in the past as well. I mean, it's not a big deal, okay? And I hope people don't take this to think that Andrew is ignorant on everything that he talks about and everything like that. Don't do that, please, because if you do that, you should logically do it to me. I said incorrect things as well. Now, remember how I said that the average man is stronger than the average woman? Yeah, of course, but you can have...
And that's when I had a problem with the video immediately. The average man being stronger than the average woman. No. Because now you got your numbers wrong. Majority of men are stronger than women. Period. Trying to say the average of man. So you're literally saying only 50% of men are stronger than the average woman? No. Majority of men are stronger than women. That's the reason why we have separation of sports. That's the reason why people are getting pissed off about, we shouldn't let, women in sports because they can get hurt. Unless you're all of a sudden transgender, then for some reason it makes you stronger all of a sudden. Although we're not really having a lot of transgender men go into men's sports because you know damn well you're still going to get your ass whipped. But we have a whole bunch of transgender women going into women's sports because these were formerly men. But yeah, the whole thing of on average, men are stronger than women. No, the majority of men are stronger than women. What do you mean average? I could take some of the weakest men and they would still be stronger than the average woman. So the majority of men are stronger than women. Get that right.
Men that are uniquely weaker to the average, okay, and women who are significantly stronger than the average as well. And I mean, the average man is generally heavier. Weight plays a very important role in combat, in case you didn't know.
Majority of men.
Height, and that affects reach and stuff like that. But you can get, lighter, shorter men and heavier, taller women, okay? And so probably the better, thing to account for, there are exceptions, and I fully admit that, okay, the averages are very clearly the average. But to account for the exceptions, you could just say, the advantages stronger, taller, heavier people have over physically weaker, lighter, and shorter people. From my own study, I have found
again, my daughter is almost my height, pretty much all muscle, and she still isn't going to block my strike. And she is an above average female. She's above average in her height, above average in her size as far as just natural farm girl muscle and skill. she's still not going to block a strike from me. Sorry. So, as I said, it sounds like he's being a bitch right now, like he's kissing women's ass instead of just talking for the sake of talking historically.
Advantages in either strength, height, and weight, especially if it's all strength, height, and weight, and you have a disadvantage in all those categories, are much more difficult to overcome through skill than it is when you're using a weapon. There are cases you can find where weaker, shorter, lighter women actually get a submission hold in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu against stronger, taller, heavier men, and they win that, round, okay? So...
Yes, you've seen that when it happens when the person lets them. Try to get me in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu kind of move, maybe against the average male. And are we talking competition or are we talking exhibition? Because if we're talking exhibition, exhibition isn't real. That's why it's called an exhibition. It's not real. Like when Ronda Rousey threw that guy, it's not like he, for one, was trying to defend himself, for one, and two, the dude was a beta. Come on, get real. He was a fucking beta. Ronda Rousey trying that shit with me, I'm gonna whip her ass. But then again, I'm also a trained fighter. So I respect her. As I said, I respect women who fight. My mom was one of those fighters, never once lost a fight, male or female. She never lost a fight. So I respect women on that nature. But again, I'm also that kind of person, because I'm a trained fighter, I don't care if you are a woman. And I've had women who have come at me with attitude, who have come at me like they're going to try and fight me. And the first thing I'll tell them is, I'm a trained warrior. Just because you're a female, I'm not going to underestimate you. I'm literally going to treat you as though you are a fighter, male or female, whatever. I'm going to treat you as though you are an equal fighter, because you're the one instigating this confrontation. So I'm letting you know, you come at me, despite the fact that you're a woman, I'm going to fucking hurt you. I'm going to put you down. You better be ready for somebody who's not looking at you as a woman and is going to be gentle or whatever. No, if you're coming at me in a hostile way, you're no longer female, male, whatever. You are a target. I'm not going to see gender. I'm going to see target. And I need to defend myself.
Well, like, there are always ways to overcome those disadvantages. Now, when it's adapted into movies, fantasy, role-playing games, and all those things, well, there's a lot of things that you kind of need to take into account. There's superpowers, for one, okay?
She didn't have superpowers. She was just a regular woman who was a trained warrior. She wasn't a witcher. She just the same way as what's her name, the one who was ugly and now she's pretty and everything else. The fight where they're defending the dragons, the dragon egg and everything. I'm like, she was a fucking sorceress. Where the fuck did she learn how to fight all of a sudden? How much time has passed that she all of a sudden knows how to fight? I know that the books, of course, add way more to the storyline, and the game, add more to the storyline. But it's like, here, another tiny ass woman fighting it, and they were fighting against trained warriors. She wasn't a warrior. She wasn't a warrior the majority of her life. All of a sudden, she's fighting. I'm watching the scene, and she's just still badass, whatever. But then again, she also started getting her ass whipped too. But these men were trying to kill her. None of those men in that scene were underestimating her. They were trying to kill her. So for her to be fighting on the level that she was against, these were bounty hunters. They were literally there to kill a dragon. So they're trained warriors. And she's holding her own at the time. I'm like, what? No. Now, when she started getting her ass whipped, then yeah, okay. I was like, all right, it's about fucking time. I understand that y'all want to do this. And I as I said, I wanted my daughter to be Red Sonja. I wanted my daughter to be Xena, warrior princess. I mean, I named her after fucking Kira Nerys from Deep Space Nine, her character was a warrior. My daughter's middle name is Nerys. My daughter, but to sit here and just change reality just for the sake of wokeness, I have a serious problem with this. Well, what's wrong with having, with having girls be, because you're not doing it realistically. Some of the greatest martial arts instructors I had were the female martial arts instructors. These women could fight their asses off. Some of the greatest assassins in history were women. So the way I was raised, ever since I was a kid, ever since I was a child, I wanted a daughter and wanted her to be a goddamn warrior. So I'm all for women especially watching my mom beat the fuck out of men that were way bigger than her, and she'd whip their ass. So I was like, damn, women are awesome. Not all women, but those special cases. My mom is one of those special cases. So for anybody who wants to call me sexist or whatever, you don't know me, and it's the furthest thing from the fucking truth period. All I've ever wanted was a daughter so I could raise her to be a warrior. I didn't want sons, I wanted daughters so I could raise them to be still ladies, but still out there being fucking warriors and whipping ass. That's what I wanted. So I am all for women holding their own and women defending their own and women doing everything to be elite. But I'm not going to just give you a pass because you're a woman. None of the girls that I grew up with that were also martial artists and warriors, none of them wanted us to ever take it easy on them on the mat, ever. They were like, you better fight me as though you're fighting one of the guys. Because how else? Because we weren't there for tournament bullshit. We did tournaments, but we weren't there for that. We were there for self-defense. So those hardcore girls, especially from the female instructors teaching those girls, if you're here to be like, oh, you want to be all cutesy or whatever, get the fuck out of the school. Get out, leave. But if you're here to actually learn self-defense, you're not going to just be fighting against people your size. You're not going to just be on the mat against other girls. You're going to be fighting the guys as well. If you're not up, and looking at the parents too, if you're not up for your daughter out here fighting with one of the boys, take her out of here. If you want her here to learn self-defense, especially against somebody who may attack her, who is more than likely going to be bigger than her, then she needs to know how to fight against guys bigger than her. So again, do not come at me on my video thinking I'm sexist or any of that bullshit, because this is the furthest thing from the truth. Furthest thing.
Etsy fantasy-based martial arts that we see in a lot of kind of Asian cinema is basically a superpower, okay, which evens the playing field in those movies and stuff. Perfectly fine as well, though even I will admit my belief is very unsuspended when I see an actress who is not trained in martial arts, and so their technique just sucks from the get-go, right? And they are like half the weight of the people that they're trying to fight, and they're physically weak as well, just trashing them all because of fake choreography. That's really hard to swallow. You see a lot of that, say, in like Atomic Blonde. It's far more satisfying when certain realities are acknowledged, and a movie that actually did this really well. It's a bad movie, but this fight scene was brilliant, and it's the remade Lara Croft Tomb Raider movie where Lara Croft is fighting a guy, and in the fight scene, it is shown visually that she is physically overpowered drastically. This guy is nearly just dominating her physically, and she has to use skill and technique to overcome that, and she does. And it came also as a brilliant, choreographed fight scene, and more satisfying because she had more disadvantages and limitations to overcome. And so when, there's no exceptional circumstances to take into account, superpowers, fantasy elements and stuff like that, even weapons are one of those things that do change up the mix completely. Acknowledging those realities makes for a more immersive and realistic movie, fight scene, anything, okay? So I will absolutely say that. So the biggest incorrect kind of elements to Andrew's statement is when he says 100% of the time, and he actually says 100% of the time that a guy trained with a sword will always beat a girl who's trained with a sword, and that is not true at all, okay? If you spoke in generalities, okay, and you were trying to say all things being equal, this applies far more so with unarmed martial arts. If you were to say two people, a man versus a woman, or a physically weaker person versus a physically stronger person, who have disadvantages and differences in both height and weight as well, and all things being equal apart from those disadvantages, on average, the stronger, taller, heavier opponent is all,
including skill,
is going to win, regardless, okay? Including if that stronger, heavier, taller person is a female and the smaller, lighter, weaker person is the male, okay? So I'm accounting for the exceptions, but they are the exceptions. If you're speaking on average, well, on average, the guy is going to be the one who's winning as well, okay?
Not on average, the majority. I can't stand when he keeps saying average. Bullshit. Because if it was average, if it were literally an average thing, then there would be less of a problem of women being in male sports if it was just an average thing. No, majority of men are bigger, stronger, faster than women. It's biological. But again, to me, it just sounds like he's being a fucking beta right now.
But to think that average is the same in unarmed martial arts versus weapon-based martial arts is very incorrect, because weapons are a very strong equalizing force when it comes to combat. The whole very nature and function of a weapon is to be a force multiplier, and as a result, you do not need much energy, power, strength to produce lethal force with a weapon. That's their whole point.
True.
Does it mean that inherent disadvantages in both strength, weight, and reach don't exist when you put weapons in the mix? Of course not. Well, of course those disadvantages do exist, but they're lessened significantly, and that's important, because with those disadvantages being lessened, it means those weaknesses are easier to overcome with skill, okay? And when it comes to weapon-based combat, especially swordsmanship, skill is the far greater significant component to try and assess if someone is going to win or lose.
However, if you factor in skill, and let's take me for instance. If you want to, when you start factoring in skill, strength, speed, power, technique, I'm sorry, but pretty much majority of the time I'm going to beat a woman's ass. Because I have all of those things. So even if we were on equal level as far as skill, technique, and everything else, what are the things that are going to edge me out? The fact that I'm bigger, stronger, faster. Because I'm a guy. Biology, sorry.
And strength is. Those small advantages that you still will retain if you are stronger than your opponent is in, say, leverage in the bind. When the swords cross, okay, you will have that more leverage to push down or break their guard. The easy way to overcome that is just to get better sword position. If you get the strong of your sword, which is the bottom half, against the weak of their sword, which is the top half, even if that guy is stronger, you will over leverage them and break their guard easier, okay? So even these strength disadvantages can be overcome with technique much easier, and we know what those specific techniques are because historical European martial arts, HEMA, has seen this in the real world by people actually practicing and putting it to the test, okay? If you want a brilliant, like a truly brilliant video which talks about how strength affects swordsmanship, it's a video made by Blood and Iron. I will link it in the description below, card also there. And the person representing the weaker fighter is the female, and it's because in that specific circumstance, even though this is also true generally, the guy is stronger when they're comparing each other. So it's a brilliant video, and it talks about how strength applies, and it's absolutely these disadvantages that come from being weaker than your opponent can be overcome much easier through skill than when you're not using a weapon. Absolutely. And interestingly enough, I've just found out that Blood and Iron has made a response video to Andrew Claven's comments as well. And wouldn't you know, they pretty much say the same thing that I do, but from their own words and from a really good practical basis, because Nicole Smith is a historical European martial arts HEMA instructor. So I'll link that video as well. And so the statement that a woman is inherently going to lose 100% of the time is once again profoundly incorrect. And we have seen this in HEMA in the modern day, where women can actually fight at a competitive level against men. And this is also reflected in several HEMA tournaments which are mixed gender. Seriously, look at the European Martial Arts Minsk tournament, where their categories are all mixed gender: longsword, rapier, rapier and dagger, and sword and buckler. There are heaps of HEMA clubs that have all their training sessions and the sparring partners that they pit people against all being mixed gender as well. This being because weapons, especially swords, are very much an equalizer. As I have mentioned, weapons are force multipliers. Now, as I've already mentioned, but I need to reiterate and then just add something onto it, that the average woman is going to have a disadvantage in reach, strength, and it's mostly mitigated with weapons, but that disadvantage is still there. And so there are enough female HEMA practitioners that actually elect to participate in female-only competitions, and that's perfectly their prerogative. But there are most definitely many HEMA tournaments that are directly open for both genders competing. And sometimes women beat the men, and other times men beat the women. But the fact that there are situations where women do beat men with swords,
Yes, because of his comment about men will win 100% of the time. Even I said I don't agree with that comment.
kind of contradicts Andrew's assertion that it would never happen. Because once again, skill is the most significant factor in your success as a swordsman, swordswoman. But what I'm saying here actually directly contradicts one of Andrew's statements. In fact, he even said that this very thing would disprove him.
Being massively attacked now for saying the simple truth that women couldn't win a medieval sword fight or be in a medieval war battle with swords. And now people are challenging me to a sword fight, as if what you would be doing in a medieval battle is battling a 65-year-old scribe. But that's not what would be happening. You'd be battling somebody who was equal to yourself, except a man, so stronger and bigger. He'd be as well trained and as young as you and as good shape, except he'd be a man stronger and bigger. And all you have to do to prove that I'm wrong is mention a single contact sport that in which women can compete with men. They can't.
Well, I've actually mentioned several contact sports, which are the many different categories of sword fighting. And by Andrew's own admission, this does directly disprove his assertion. That single contact sport in which women can compete against men is HEMA, Historical European Martial Arts. But that also sets the precedent for most sword-based martial arts. So it does raise a really important and significant question, as I mentioned before then, as to historically, why weren't women fighting on the battlefield? And I have said that it was because of strength. And I think it was in my video on female armor. And I done further study on that, and I actually realized, okay, no, that's incorrect. It actually wasn't because of strength, because physically weaker men were also conscripted and forced into warfare and battle throughout all of human history. And so if strength was the reason why women were excluded from the historical battlefield, we would have seen physically weaker men excluded as well. But they weren't, okay? They were put into the battlefield and encouraged to go and fight and do all those things, because the reasons why women generally were not seen on the historical battlefield, even though there are, of course, historical exceptions, but the exceptions don't break the rule. That the standard was most women didn't fight in the historical battlefield, I've actually found isn't because of physical strength. Might play a small component, but in actual fact, the larger reason are cultural practices and certain other biological factors. Historically, the very kind of concept of masculinity has always put men in the protective role, the fighting role. And I think that has arisen out of different biology. Okay,
except, as Polar Bear pointed out, in pagan-based cultures, you had your shield maidens. Hello, Vikings. So women who could fight, who earned their right to be on the field within pagan cultures, could be out there fighting. As I said, I was raised, my mom, the way that she was like, as I said, don't bring any weak ass bitches in my house. I want the woman that my sons hook up with, the women my sons hook up with, to be, if something goes down, I want that woman right there by my son's side. I don't want her behind him, like using my son as a shield. I want my sons to be with women who will be right by their side, also in the ditch fucking fight. That's the way that my mom raised us to be. That's the way that my mom wanted the women to be in our lives to be strong, fighting, can handle their own shit women. That is what my mom wanted for us. So again, if anybody wants to come at me like I'm some kind of a sexist, furthest thing from the truth. I love women who can kick ass. I fucking love that shit, respect that shit. I've told stories where we've gotten into situations where if we men had interfered, it would have insulted the girl to where we were like, all right, she got this. And we sit down and watch the girl whip the ass of a guy. So again, anybody wants to call me sexist, you don't fucking know me, and it is the furthest thing from the truth. I want the woman to know how to shoot, hunt, skin, fish, do all of that shit and kick ass. That's what I want. That's what I was married to. That's what I've dated. That's what I want. I want the person to be able to know how to defend themselves. That way, because seriously, if I'm not fucking there, the cops ain't gonna show up in fucking time and shit, you know? So you expect the person to be able to defend herself. That's the reason why, knowing my daughter, as I said, wanting the type of daughter that, that I was gonna raise and everything else, I was already training her how to fight. Ever since she was a little girl, I was already training her to fight. Ever since she was like 4 years old, I was training her how to fight. Push-ups, sit-ups, literally to be able to be a warrior, to get out there. I knew her genetics would push her to give her even height, natural muscle and strength and everything. But I knew that she may get picked on because she wasn't going to be some little tiny little feminine thing. No, as I said, my daughter, when you look at her, she's naturally like Gina Carano. She is just beautiful and strength. So yeah, she would get picked on, wouldn't last. Let's put it this way, the first and last girl to ever, and it was Mean Girls. I think my daughter had her friends with her, but it was them kind of Mean Girls, and just was picking on one of the other girls. And my daughter defended the other girl. This was at high school here, and defended the other girl, one of her friends. And the girl was like, well, if you know what's good for you, you'd shut up. And remember, I raised my daughter to be a warrior, not just against women, but to fight men. So we're talking the fact of her being confronted by a girl. My daughter's like, bitch, I found out about this. I found out about this later, not just from her, but from witnesses, teachers, it was like, what did you raise your daughter to be? Because this came from one of the teachers hearing what happened, like hearing it, seeing it and hearing it. She was like, your daughter looked at her and said, you got 3 options. She goes, I can, and when I asked my daughter about it later, she was like, yeah, my words were all scrambled, but she got the point. She goes, you got 3 options. She goes, you can walk away, I can kill you, or I could just maim you. Take your pick. And I was like, shouldn't you have said kill last? She goes, yeah, I know, but but the girl got the point. The girl literally was like, oh, this girl ain't playing. And walked off. That was the first and only time my daughter was ever picked on in high school, because let's put it this way, because she said it loud, because I told her, when an incident like that happens, because I raised my son the same way, when an incident like that happens, you make sure there's enough witnesses for that legend to fucking spread. So sure enough, now mind you, my daughter could back it up, but just her words alone spread like wildfire across Hanks High School. And yeah, nobody, not even the boys, would fuck with her, because she was like, I'll kill you. I'm a sociopath. Ever since I was a kid, I was fucking diagnosed, documented. It is in my military records. So I knew my kids would be along the same lines as me. So I raised them to take that inner power, that inner intimidation, that inner Hannibal Lecter, and put it in facial expressions, put it in their voice, put it in their presence. So yeah, she didn't just say the words, she meant it. So the girl was like, oh, this bitch ain't playing. She's actually gonna fucking kill me. And the teacher, as I said, I found out from my daughter, but I also found out from, the teacher as well. She was like, damn. I actually, when the teacher approached me, I thought that I would get like that my daughter would get in trouble, like there was going to be some kind of a notice against her for threatening to kill this girl. But because the girl started it, the teacher was asking me, it's like, was your daughter meaning it? And I was like, yeah, she was. Because I raised my kids, I trained them. If there is a situation where you cannot walk away or talk yourself out of that situation and that person attacks you, the fact that they didn't back off, the fact that they are still attacking you, you need to end that shit with as much shock and awe, devastation that you can. Probably short of killing them, but you make sure that motherfucker doesn't ever want to come back. You either make sure they don't come back or you make sure that they don't want to come back. That was the way I was raised. I definitely raised my kids the same fucking way. I don't want my kids to fight. I don't like to fight. I don't like violence. I hated guns until I joined the military. I do not like fighting. Even though I've been into martial arts since I was 5 years old, I did everything I could to talk myself out of any kind of confrontation. But if you pushed me, now I got to finish you. Because it's like, look, I didn't start this confrontation. I'm literally trying to talk my way out of it, trying to walk away from it. You're the one pushing it. So now I got to hurt you because now you pushed me to this point. So I don't think I need to continue this video. I mean, this one's already gone on for almost an hour. Women can fight. I've given names of women I respect very much on the field of battle. If a real life situation comes down, I will gladly have these women at my side and at my back. These are some straight, hardcore, warrior fucking women. But to sit here and say, the way that the other guy said it, Andrew Clavin, that 100% of the time women won't win, that's wrong. To say on average that he said is wrong. On average, the average man can beat the average woman. No, the majority of men can beat the majority of women. That's just fact. The reason why I had to do this video is because he was sounding like a fucking beta bitch. And it was like, dude, why are you kissing ass right now? Just, I understand what you said about HEMA and all that. I know that stuff. I know it. Got friends who fucking do it. I fight with them. They've been trying to get me to do armored combat. So I do all of that stuff. I've been trained in the shit since I was a fucking kid. So sword play, martial arts, all of that. I know all of those weapons. Archery, all of that. I was raised into art, hunting, all of that. So for you to have this attitude of being this fucking beta and, having it to where equally men can fight equally, the average man to the average woman, dude, stop being a beta. Just stop. If you had literally just said all the things that I've said, despite the fact that you may, here's the thing. What are you afraid of that you wouldn't say the truth? Because as you said that your channel is he's got 449,000 views. So I guess he doesn't want to, because even the stuff that he said, he had to give a fucking disclaimer and shit. Like he doesn't want any adversity. Oh my God, I don't want to be attacked by the feminists. for the truth? You don't want the feminist to say anything because of truth? I thought you were a history buff. So if you're a history buff, then you wouldn't care about offending anybody. The truth is the only thing that would matter, right? So anyway, this is ending this video here. I will talk to you later. I mean, I know I'm going to do a part 4, probably a part 5, because there's still just so many, I mean, especially in just these last couple of months, just tons of these sexist, stupid videos that people want to like rewrite history or rewrite like biology isn't a real thing just because of women. And it's I just, real is real. Like Mr. Incredible, math is math. Real is real. Real doesn't care about your fucking feelings. Tired of you fucking betas. I'm tired of you fucking feminazis. Real doesn't care about your feelings. When real life fucking shoots you or smacks you in the face or something, I can't stand people who, like when the shooting that happened here in El Paso, people all of a sudden certain people wanted to like change reality. There are evil people in the world. It's just a fact of life. Wow, oh my God, we're going to ban guns. And that's going to all of a sudden stop people from killing people? Damn, you had that one fucking crazy nut in fucking Jersey with a goddamn machete. There are, multiple people that fucking died and it wasn't through a gun? Then what? We got to ban bladed weapons too now. We got to ban blades now, but ban them all. So then what's going to happen next? I mean, now we're going to have, I've beaten somebody up with a pencil. I know it sounds like a whole John Wick thing, but I was first grade, he was third grade, and I literally beat the shit out of his third grader with a pencil. So in the hands of a martial artist, in the hands of a fighter, and in the hands of somebody who's a fucking sociopath anyway, anything is a weapon. This remote is a weapon in my hand. It's anybody who's a trained fighter, anything is a weapon. This mouse is a weapon because I can hold it in my hand like a roll of fucking quarters. It makes no sense. When you're an evil person, you will always find a way to kill. You will always fucking poison. I mean, it makes no sense. Oleanders are poisonous as fuck. And I've got a whole bunch of oleander bushes in my damn yard. 1, 2, 3, one giant one, 2 smaller ones, 2 giant ones. Yep. I can literally poison my entire neighborhood just with the fucking plants I got in my yard. Evil people will always find a way. Always. I could kill people with, I've got wrist rockets. If you don't know what a wrist rocket is, it's basically a slingshot. Okay? We and my friends used to make our own wrist rockets when we were kids. And trust me, these bitches can kill you. We would hunt with them. We would take out snapping turtles. You know how hard it is to kill a snapping turtle? And we would take out snapping turtles with our homemade wrist rockets. Evil people will find a way. So you ban guns, then it'll go to blades. All right, we ban blades. Okay, so then we go, what are you going to ban rocks? You do realize humanity has been killing each other since the history of humanity. Hello, David and Goliath. He used a fucking sling. You know how easy it is to make a sling and rocks? I live in the goddamn desert. Rocks are everywhere. So seriously, it makes no fucking sense. All these people wanting to ban fucking shit. It is the dumbest thing ever. Evil people. It is not a gun problem. It is a mental health problem. It is an evil problem. I know, again, I got off topic. I guess I was just, anyway, I'm losing my voice again. Get all worked up and shit. I'm very passionate about the things I believe in. Anyway, I'll finish this video here. I'll probably get into, what is this, part 3? So I'll probably get into 4 and 5 here within the next couple of days. I really need to clear these damn folders. Yeah, and it's about control. I know it's this world is going to hell in a handbasket, all because of these woke fucking SJWs wanting to change reality. And from a person who is pagan, from a person who plays video games. I am a gamer. I'm a beta tester for games. I'm a beta tester for RPGs, for Wizards of the Coast. I am a ranked Magic the Gathering player. From a person who loves sci-fi and fantasy, I still live in the real fucking world. These SJWs are just fucking up the entire goddamn planet. They are. These SJWs are going to be the death of this country because they're going to weaken this fucking country and we're going to get attacked by these fucking Muslims or whoever, or China is just going to walk over and it's stupid. Stupid. Anyway, love y'all. For those of y'all I love, talk to y'all later. Peace out. Take it easy, Polar Bear.